Well, okay, so what's the difference between computer versus human playing chess strategies? And in order to answer this question, let's actually have a look at both. So we'll start by having a look at how human players play chess and then how computers do, and then we'll make a sort of a comparison. So hopefully it's going to be clear after what's the difference. So as a human player, especially if you're at maybe not at grandmaster level, but if you're a professional chess player, unlikely myself, then you would probably, instead of just learning some openings and trying to hope for the best, you would most likely want to come up with a certain type of position that you're comfortable to play. And the matter of that position to be comfortable to play is the matter of exactly knowing what to do in that sort of position, in that type. So literally having a plan. So what's the most specific to human chess is the matter of having a plan. And there are really lots of plans, and they do depend on the openings as well. But I just want to show one simple plan, one of my favorite ones, and one of the very simplest possible plans, basically, like everyone knows that. And I want to show you this plan regardless of opening, because that's really insightful to see how the plan works, not really being tied up to a specific opening. So this plan might be applied to the Pyrrhic defense, to the Sicilian dragon, and well, potentially it might even be applied to the King's Indian defense. So what I mean by saying all that, so let's consider that black would respond g7, g6, and we try to build a structure where the bishop is going fianchettoed here, and then the knight goes to f6, d6, and castling. So this sort of a position. So let's just the move order here I'm making might be horribly wrong. I'm not about doing this accurately, and I just want to show the idea, because we're talking about the major difference between how computers and human players play in chess. So here we go. Well, for instance, let's go knight c3 here. Well, here it's not the best idea, because yes, probably let's better go d6 first to avoid going to push into e5. And then already when we have this sort of a position, white have a plan. So starting from the next move in this position already, we know that we want to do the following thing. In case if the black king dares to castle kingside, we want to exchange the dark square bishop and start pushing the a pawn, exchange it here, then queen jumps here and checkmates. That's the plan. So this is called like the h-file attack, or I'm not sure how exactly that called, but it doesn't matter really. So what I want to do here, I want to put my bishop here, queen here, so to make it possible to exchange the bishop later on. And here already I'm starting to make this plan being available. So knight goes to f6, not only allowing the king to castle, but also threatens to exchange this bishop. And in this case, the plan is not going to work. So we really need to play f3 here to avoid knight going to g4, right? Then castles, and this is very bad idea. Well, actually, in this position, people usually try to play c6, then followed by b5, and developing the queenside attack, and never ever castling here. But let's consider that someone a noob like me is playing black here, and he dares to castle actually. So instead of playing c6 here, he's castling. So queen d2. Now we're already ready for exchange. And now the plan for whites is to exchange this bishop, start pushing the h pawn, and the plan for black is try to develop the attack somewhere on the queen side, because white is going to be castling queen side. So whites are attacking on the king side, blacks are attacking on the queen side, and who would be faster, that guy would win. And I know this was before Nemcovich, and it's really kind of like it's not a grandmaster level of game at any point. So yeah, but this shows the plan clearly. So now we have the plan of this h-file attack. So queen goes to d2, and let's say c6, so preventing the knight going here, and white going for an exchange, and let's say b5, so takes, and trying to okay, so it's white turn to move. So h4, black is starting, white is starting its attack. And here, for instance, well, most natural move is to go like this. And well, I didn't even castle here, which yeah, just the move order was a bit wrong. So let's drop back a little bit, and here I would rather castle. So now this here, and king goes to h5. So trying to get this, grab this pawn, go in here. Here, for instance, 9 goes to bring the rook in, and here h4. Now here the rook comes here, and well. I'm not sure what exactly black can do here, but let's just make some dumb move for black, so to make white win, because I really like when white win this position is late. Let's make some dumb move. I don't know what dumb move. Let's try to play c5, for instance. So takes, and here and checkmate. So these are the dreams of what white want to consider, and the black's dream, on the other hand, is to checkmate here. So that's what both sides are trying to achieve. You know, the matter of the playing strengths, not blundering pieces and things like that, is the matter of how accurate the plan is going to be brought to the state where it's completed. So it's the matter of the accuracy of how accurate the plan is, how accurately the steps are. Because when you're having this big strategic plans, it's really simple, it's really easy to blunder pieces, and that ends the game and that decides the entire game. So yeah, but anyway, I just wanted to give you an idea, the gist essence of what the human chess are all about, basically. And now we'll have a look how the computers are thinking about chess, and this is totally different from how human players do. And to show you this even in a greater details, instead of this analysis board, I want to go to the board editor, and the reason for that, because board editor allows you to make several moves for a given site. That's the reason. So as I've been demonstrating in the previous video on how the engines actually calculating the best move in the position, you may know from that video already that chess engines are about, well, I'm not talking about the modern chess engines like Stockfish involving efficiently updatable neural networks, but the principle is still the same, because even with those networks, the principle is still the same. If we're talking about the alpha beta type engines, not the Monte Carlo tree search like Lila Chess Zero, for instance, so like Stockfish type engines, the alpha beta type engines. So the p-square table, the p-square tables are the 64 8x8 arrays, basically, that are intended to give an engine an idea where to develop its pieces, and you might have different tables for pawns, for rogues, for knights, for queens, for all the pieces, and also you might have two sets of these p-square tables, those for opening and those for the end game. So for instance, in the opening, king would not be trying to going towards the center, approaching towards the center. Instead, it would try to castle, and in the end game, on the contrary, the king would try to go towards the center. And we'll talk about the efficiently updatable neural networks a little bit later, because that idea kind of derives from this basic p-square tables, plus some additional evaluation terms. So we'll cover this just right in a moment. But for now, I just don't really want to put too much information into your head, and instead, let's try just to visualize how this would happen. So the idea is that the very first statement I want to make here, that chess engine knows nothing about the plan. So chess engine doesn't have a plan. All it tries to do, it tries to increase the score. It's not trying to win in terms of, I don't know, like sacrifice everything and go for a king. He's not going to be doing that. Instead, he would be trying to increase the score. So whatever move that leads to the score increasing from the engine's perspective, from the engine's static evaluation perspective, that move is going to be considered in the current position to be as the best move, and the engine would make that move eventually. And those moves that are not considered to be the best, they would be just dropped. So that's very simple. And I just want to show you what engine would try to achieve if we don't take into account what opponent is going to be doing. And this is absolutely essential, because if we're talking about the human chess, it might not be always on the card. But for engines, this is the case because of these p-square tables I've been mentioning. So, for instance, let's say, well, again, if we're taking a very simple engine that doesn't have many evaluation terms and it doesn't calculate for like big depth, so let's say depth 3 to 5 plies with the questions, obviously. So most likely we consider D4 because it's most likely traverses from A to H1, and the D2, D4 just happens before the E2, E4. And there are many other reasons. So if we have, in case if we have the symmetric p-square table, or more or less symmetric, as has been mentioned in the previous video, in this case, the engine would try to do the following thing. He would try to centralize the pawn, which is exactly the same what the human player would do. Then it would try to develop the knights, which is also obvious. And then, quite interestingly, engines usually prefer castling queenside rather than kingside. And eventually, engine would try to achieve the position like this. And then it would be just pushing the pawns, and then it would try to bring the knights closer to opponent's king, well, to the center or to opponent's king. It depends on the p-square table and how they tune, basically. So then he would be trying to bring the rooks to here, and eventually, yes. So would it be trying to checkmate? So trying to bring all the pieces. So I know bishops are not moving that way, but that's just an idea what the engine is going to be doing. So it doesn't have a plan. The engines are very tactical. So the engine is going to be playing from the perspective of how on what's the particular situation on board. So now I'll try to give you a very simplistic but hopefully insightful idea of how, like, not a very, like, let's say around 1800s LO chess engine would be playing the game of chess versus itself, for instance. Yeah, so let's consider d4, d5, then knight c3. It's most likely the engine would go knight c3, even though, like, from the human chess perspective, it doesn't make much sense because it doesn't load to, like, play c4, going for either Queen's Gambit accepted or declined. So yeah, it doesn't load doing that. But the idea is following it, and most likely the engine will go like this. And here, already eyeing the c7 square. So here at this point, engine is most likely not going to go in like knight from b8 to c6 because of this move. And even though it's how to defend this, it's not really clear. So yeah, that's the reason the engine is not going for this move. So for instance, what can he go? For instance, well, let's say, yeah, probably just no, he won't go h6. Engines won't go h6. So I don't know. He would just try to, well, okay, guys, I'm sorry. Let's just make it a little bit. Let's make it like this, and starting from here. Yeah. No, this is gonna be better. So now he can play. And if we play here, then this is the move. So yeah. So, and engine would try to avoid that. So instead we'll have the moves like, so queen goes to d2, knight to f6, castling, bishop still goes here, so white is not going to be capturing, I believe. So knight goes, castling, and I can't play d4 yet. So yeah, so here, well, yeah, actually the opening starts somewhere from here, and again, like the major difference. So as a human player, what I me as a human player, what would I try to do in this position? So I will try, well, assuming that I have the opposite side castling, I'll try to bring my king away here to avoid any pins potentially, and then I'll try to push the pawns and try to get to the opponent's king, try to checkmate him here. But the engine doesn't know about this plan, and having the opposite castling doesn't force him really to start an attack on the other side. It would be just trying to gain some score. So like based on the material and the evaluation. So, well, for instance, why engine won't play like this? Well, that's because we have still equal material, but after this exchange, the black's queen is now have a better position, so it's developed towards the center. Hence, no matter if white was better or worse in this position, anyway, engine from the white side would consider this to be worse as opposed to what he had before. Because here the queen has been developed, so he's not going to be exchanging this. And on the other hand, so let's give white a dumb move. This is not going to happen as well, because again, like queen here would be treated to be closer to the center. Hence, it's a bad idea to exchange bishops there. So that's how the computer think. So let's try to think like from the computer's perspective. So he knows that having the pawn in the center is going to be better anyway, but currently he can't go for this. So if he calculates this move, that it turns out that he actually loses a piece there and loses horribly, so it's not an option. So what he would most likely try to do, he would try to put a pressure on this square. So advancing the pawn, let's say white advancing this pawn as opposed to this, for instance. So this would result in, this won't gain the score according to the p-square table. This won't gain the score as well as this one, also won't gain a score as well. So, but this will, because most these scores usually have like a slight advantage from the score perspective. And the idea here that it would start putting pressure on this square to eventually put the pawn there, and also putting the bishop in the center. So these squares are, in many cases, are treated to be the good squares for bishops. Even though sometimes it happens that the bishop might go in front of the pawn, even though it's horrible from the human player's perspective. But engines usually may do this. Well, I mean, like not the modern engines, but the ever like 1800s engines might go for that, like Fritz did back in the day, for instance. So another option here in this position might be going here. So in case if the bishops are more valuable than the knights, if the values for the bishops is greater than for knight, then this move is possible. So engine would try to exchange the bishop in this way. So yeah, this might be an option. But if we, well, is it going to exchange and going like this? I'm not sure. So most likely he would just drops back, and in this case, the knight's position is not going to be that great, really. So yeah, even in this case, most likely he would start just fighting for this with the central square. And what to do for black, you might be wondering. So yeah, it still didn't finish the development, so just brings the rook to do literally the same thing, basically. So bishop goes, and do we have this e6 to e5? I'm wondering. So if takes, and what we have, yeah, it's about, is it equal? Yes, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6. Yeah, so this is about it. So most likely this is going to be the scenario. Yeah, because eventually black's rook is getting activated, which is good. So white would just continue like this, and what black would do, yeah, it would just start pushing the, well, most likely he first develops the bishop, say here, for instance. Yeah, for instance, like here. This might be the case. So if just exchange here, and then just bring the rook. Okay, so white to move. Well, actually here, no. Can I take? Takes. So 1 2 3. 1 2 3. You know, I can't take this pawn. So yeah. But anyway, I hope it's already clear that there is no certain plan, and this would calmly go to the end game. And again, like I'm not a computer, so it's more like the style of playing as an engine rather than the real engine playing, because I'm not calculating this. I don't have a pencil and paper here to calculate every move by hands. It just takes ages to do that. It's possible. I've been demonstrating something similar in the previous video, but anyway, so here is just an assumption basically. So yeah, this is how the game is gonna be approaching. And at the very end, just as I promised about to cover a little bit about how the neural networks work, the efficiently updatable neural networks as in Stockfish. So apart from the p-square tables, when this was the era of the hand-grafted evaluation, there were really lots of terms, evaluation terms, like having a bishop pair, for instance, the pawn structure knowledge, so that having the double pawns is a bad thing, having an isolated pawn is a bad thing, trying to give a bonus for pawns that are about to be promoted, protected past pawn, and so on and so on. But anyway, even with all of those, hundreds of parameters that back in the day they were tuned just using the intuition basically. Then they've invented the automated tuning using some machine learning algorithms, and then they realized that actually, essentially what the efficiently updatable neural networks do, they just instead of having those hundreds or even thousands of small evaluation terms, instead they have just a single network that is getting trained using the specific positions, really lots of positions, that actually do involve all of those tiny little positional terms that you might encounter, and that allows to do the following thing. So, for instance, if you have a handcrafted evaluation and you tell an engine that having double pawn is a bad thing, then every time it would have a choice of whether to consider double pawns or not considering them, or get rid of double pawns. Engine would always try to get rid of double pawns, or engine would always try not to have the double pawns. But in some cases, having double pawns might be a good idea. And for instance, the difference between this handcrafted evaluation and the efficiently updatable neural networks, that the efficiently updatable neural network may sometimes consider the double pawns to be an advantage, and sometimes consider the same double pawns to be the disadvantage, depending on the certain position circumstances. So it's kind of more flexible way to give engine an idea of what is good and what is bad. But still, even with this flexibility, so the matter of the efficiently updatable neural networks is just a matter of flexibility, but it still plays in the so-called computer style, because it doesn't really use a plan in terms of like human players do. So he thinks not in what he wants to achieve. He plays not in checkmate. He doesn't play in developing pieces. He plays in getting the score. It just tries to increase the score. That's pretty much all about it. So yeah, I hope this was insightful, and hopefully you learned something interesting out of this. You know, this video might be treated as a sort of an intro for the next videos. I'm not sure how they would go and if you like them, whether they do make sense or not. But what I want to try to show you guys is how you as a human can apply this, what I call computer chess engine strategy, to play versus human players. Because when we're talking about playing versus lower rated players like I am, so everyone who goes behind, everyone who goes below to 2000s, in that case, it's more like about blundering pieces that decides the game. So even if you go for not the best ever openings, and if you don't have the advantage out of the opening like what the Grandmaster is trying to achieve, but you just play accurately, and even if you have some, you can allow yourself as a human to have some small plans, but if you still bear in mind this strategies of what computers do, and especially when you don't know what to do in the position, it might be beneficial for you at some point to actually try simply to observe the position from the computer's perspective. So just thinking how you can increase the score in this current position, or how you can avoid decreasing the score. So how you may avoid to get in a worse position by making the next move. So that's the idea. So I'll try to demonstrate you that in the next video. This is from my side. Thanks for watching. Until next time, and take care.